The following production is produced by the State University of New York College at Oneonta.
Good evening and welcome to another edition of Inside Red Dragon Sports. I'm your host, Geoff Hassard, the Assistant Director of Athletics and Sports Information Director here at SUNY Oneonta. And tonight we're going to continue with our winter sports previews. We're going to welcome to the studio tonight head men's and women's basketball coaches, Daphne Thompson and Vince Medici. So please come back after the break and I'll be joined by my first guest tonight, head men's basketball coach, Vince Medici. Welcome back. Joining me now in the studio is head men's basketball coach Vince Medici. Welcome to the show, Vince.
Thanks, Geoff. Glad to be here.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you found your way to Oneonta?
Well, 6 years ago I got this job in 2004. But prior to that, I was the men's head coach at Hudson Valley Community College for 9 years in a part-time situation. I was also an elementary PE teacher along that same time, about 16 years.
Okay, and where'd you go to school? Got your degree from?
SUNY Cortland.
Yeah.
In 1987.
1987.
And from there I went on into teaching at the elementary school.
Now, Hudson Valley Community College had a very successful run there. You made region championships and that kind of stuff. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that experience, and then we can try and transition to how we're working here. So
well, I got that job in '95, and the first 3 years were struggles, and then we went to 3 region championships, and it started in '98 to 2001, and we won the first one, and we lost the other 2, but it was a great experience, great opportunity for me to be a head coach in a situation dealing with college athletes. And since then, you know, it continues to be real pleasant to work here. Now,
you're the only coach really on our staff that had such a successful run at a 2-year school. What kind of differences are you finding? You know, when you came here, it's a Division III. It's the expectations are higher, different level. How did you make that transition, and how has it worked thus far? Well,
in the recruiting realm, it's been great because you have a place to house the kids. I mean, that was something at Hudson Valley. You just got local Section 2 kids, so it's great because you can widen out your recruiting base. So that's been fun, and obviously, the facility we have here is outstanding. So from a recruiting standpoint, and along with the academic standards here, it's been great. When it comes to basketball part of it, the scheduling, we don't have an easy game here. I could easily tell you at Hudson Valley, there's probably 8 games on the schedule every year that if I showed up or didn't show up, we were going to win. But here it's a little bit different. 25 games every night, you got to be prepared.
Yeah. We actually had some players when you first got here. Bill Heslin, to name a few. We had Bobby Fisk, who found his way here as well. That you actually coached at Hudson Valley. What kind of an experience was that for them and yourself to be able to not only coach them as a 2-year athlete thinking, hey, they're just going to go on to a 4-year school, but you ended up at a 4-year school, and how did that work out, you think, for both?
It was great. It was great to have an opportunity to coach them. You know, when you're at a 2-year school, you get kids for 2 years. So when I came here and a couple of those guys did transfer with me, it was great because I had an opportunity to coach them for 4 years. So it was an opportunity for them that I got the job, and they were looking for schools, and we had a great relationship. So, and I know there's no regrets from myself or them coming here to Oneonta.
Good. And we know Bill Heslin actually got an extra year. He had an injury season or whatever, and he was one of our best players, all-conference player. So, I mean, I think probably for him, that experience probably worked out for him as well, where he got a chance to go to a 4-year school and compete at a high level, you know, in the SUNY.
No doubt. And I think also is they didn't have to learn a new system. You know, when you're a junior college player and you go to a 4-year school, it's kind of starting over again. You got to start to learn a whole new system. So they had the opportunity to come in, and they actually knew everything compared to the kids that were already here.
Right.
You know, so he had a huge advantage, and Josh Wysocki as well.
Right, Josh.
They had huge advantage coming here, you know, with me being here.
Now, philosophy, when you're recruiting, what kinds of things are you talking to the kids about? You know, how you work your way, your coaching style, your philosophy, and the school. How do you work those things?
Well, first and foremost, the athlete has to become comfortable with the school and with me. I mean, because that's where you're going to spend most of your time, in the academic room and with me for 4 years. So that's the first thing you're trying to do, is build a relationship with the recruits. As long as they feel comfortable here, then from that standpoint, we can talk basketball and strategies and what we do and how they fit into our scheme. And then I guess the next thing would be their comfort level with our players. You know, we try to have many of our recruits stay overnight and experience a night here at Oneonta with our athletes and spend, 24 hours with them and get to know them, because that's the people they're going to be with most of the time. And that's kind of how we do our recruiting in those 3 different elements.
Now, we've talked, outside of here. You're very important for you to meet people face to face. You like to get the parents on campus. In today's world, how important is it for the parents to be involved in the recruiting process?
It's real important. I know in the age of technology, which I'm not really up to snuff where I should be, I truly believe, I'm still old-fashioned, I still believe the face-to-face conversations, the people you get to know. I give all my recruits their own personal tour, because I think that's time we spend together and we get to know each other, their total background, my total background, where I came from, and talking with the parents and asking what they're looking for. I just think that's the way recruiting goes, and I feel comfortable in that kind of realm versus an email or,
Right. Now, you're a parent yourself, and you have a son who's looking at schools and that kind of stuff. Does being a coach and recruiting student athletes, does that allow you to, how does that help you with your own son and that kind of?
It's helped me quite a bit, actually. It's been great. I went on all the trips with him, and I let him make his thoughts and ask his questions, and after he's kind of done, then I'll be able to ask mine. But I always ask him what he feels before I even give him my opinion.
Yeah.
So it's been a great experience. I know it's helped him because of what I do as a profession, and so the whole recruiting process has been a lot of fun so far, and we still have a few months left here, but it clearly is something that I've used to my advantage being a college coach.
Yeah, because you could ask those questions that maybe someone wouldn't be thinking of.
Exactly, a typical parent that isn't involved in it, certainly.
Now let's start to talk a little bit about this year's team. We've got quite a few experienced players coming back, all-conference player, Mike Grimes, who's going to be a senior for us this year, one of our captains. Could you just talk about generally the team and then maybe start to talk about some of the specific players you think who are going to shine for us this year?
Well, the team is very top-heavy. We got 5 seniors and 4 juniors, and kids with a lot of playing. We had 6 guys that played a lot of minutes last year. So with that said, you're hoping for the best. The way practice have been going, things have been looking very good. As a team, they seem to be more comfortable with each other, because we had a couple transfers last year that kind of showed up, and I think it took a while for them to mesh. I think now, after a year under their belt, everybody kind of knows what each other's thinking.
Right. Yeah. Now, we went 16-10 last year. We went 11-5 in the SUNY, tied for first place. SUNY is always tough up at the top. We got into the top. It took us a couple of years, but through your recruiting and the way you've been building your program in a positive direction, last year seemed to be a very big breakthrough year for us. How do you think it'll happen this year for us in the SUNY? Do you think it'll be all bunched up again at the top, or?
I think in the SUNY, our 8th seed won the SUNY championship, so it just tells you a lot about our league, that every night you have to come to play.
Right.
I think this year, there's 2 or 3 teams that kind of stand alone just because of all the people they have back, like a Cortland, Fredonia. They have a lot of people back, so I think those 2 teams come to mind right away. They'll be very difficult to beat. I think as a team, with our experience, I'd like to think we're in the thick of things. You don't want to go in too overconfident, but last year clearly was a huge breakthrough season for us to get to 16 wins, and I think the whole key is taking a program and trying to build that positive confidence attitude that you're going to win every game,
right, and
not go in and say, geez, I hope I win, but yet go into a game saying, oh, we're going to win, and so I think we've kind of maybe turned the corner hopefully last year with that confidence that no longer are, we actually create fear to other teams. Hopefully, that's what we're looking for.
Right, and I think just from watching on the sidelines, watching all the games, I think our team did make that kind of an impact last year in the SUNY, where people now are. We're one of the. I think we're one of the top teams now in that group, that top 3, 4, 5. So I think, as you say, some of those kids that are coming back this year that have played and kind of built along with you. I mean, Mike Grimes is a 4-year player for us. Kevin Walsh is a 4-year player for us. I mean, I think they understand now that what we're trying to do is really build that kind of confidence. So, I mean, do you see that now with the kids that have been with us for 3 or 4 years now?
Yeah, you see it in practice. You see that, their confidence level has risen. They feel like they're unbeatable, and then that's a positive thing. It's certainly not a negative that you have that confidence. You still got to go out and perform to win those games. But yeah, kids like Mike Grimes, Kevin Walsh coming back, Shane Gillette, 2-year starter for us at point guard, and Brian Hooks, who's played many minutes since his freshman year, is also a junior. And then you throw in, Troy Talbot, who's done a great job as a transfer. He's come back this year better than ever. We're real excited. And, of course, Brian Beckford, an opportunity for him to transfer in. And I think he's feeling more comfortable and more taking a leader role, I think, this year offensively for us.
Yeah, I mean, because last year, at the beginning of the year, I mean, he was almost averaging a double-double. I mean, for this year, he averaged nearly 13 points and, about 9 rebounds. Right. Do you think there's pressure on him? Because he came from a Division I school to transfer it in. Do you think there's pressure or extra pressure on him because he has that background?
I think so. I think, you have that Division I player now playing down at Division III, so the expectations are always high. And I think the pressures, I think he feels comfortable being the leader this year. Last year he kind of took a backseat to Ryan Marin, who actually had an outstanding season, obviously. Right. And I think this year he's kind of said, I'll be in the driver's seat now. And hopefully, he'll step forward and continue those double-doubles, even at a higher rate, hopefully. Yeah,
I mean, there were games, especially I can remember vividly the Buffalo State game at the end where he blocked 2 shots in the last 8 seconds to, we won that game by a point or whatever, and just the presence. I mean, you could see it. And so this year, it would be awesome if he could, along with all those other guys that we're talking about. Certainly would be special. Now, incoming freshmen, some of your top players coming in, and maybe tell us a little bit about them.
Well, we had 4 freshmen, but circumstances beyond our control ended up to be 2. But the 2 we got are very special guys. Cameron Boyd and Dan McLaren, I think, are very, very talented young men that I think after this year, even this year, I know are going to contribute. But I could just see once they learn our system and get more comfortable with everyone, I think they're going to rise to the top. I think by the second semester they should be right in the thick of things for playing time and stuff. But they're very intelligent young men. They learn very quickly, and they're the quality young guys.
Well, and now when you're out recruiting, when you're talking about how does it fit, philosophy, that kind of stuff, you're looking for those things when you're talking to the student, prospective student.
Right. And nowadays you just need to find kids that are passionate about playing. So, I mean, most kids when they come to practice and games, they're going to do their best. It's off season is what you're trying to look for now in a recruit, I think, at this level, Division III, because our time is so limited with our players. We're looking for kids that really have a passion so that when the season's over, they're back in the gym, they're back in the weight room, and they're doing a lot of things to make themselves better players in the off season. Okay. And I think we've kind of found a few. We do have many more on the team that can do that, trust me, but these 2 fit right into our mold.
Now, what kinds of things do you what are the expectations during the off season?
Well, you not only have to play basketball, but you need to. We talk about individual. We go through individual meetings about what your weaknesses are, what your strengths are, and what you need to get better at. And we certainly talk about lifting weights and getting stronger. We don't need to be a football player size, but muscle endurance is obviously important when you're playing 25-game schedule. Right. You're playing 3 games a week in the second semester. Right. So that's what we kind of focus on.
Now, if you were You're coming into a situation here where you're building now. As you look forward, what kinds of things are you hoping to get us to, in the coming, not only this season, but down the road a little bit?
I just think more consistency. I'd like to think that we should be at the top of the SUNY every year and competing for the top spot every year. I don't. Sometimes people, you have a recruiting class, you have a good year, and then there's a lull, and then I'm trying to, build consistency here, and I think as long as we keep getting the kids that we've been getting, we'll stay, in the race every year. I mean, it's a tough league, so there's no, it's when teams win a couple of years in a row, it's astounding to see. But
Right.
As long as we're considered one of the top teams every year, that's basically what we're trying to get at.
Now, outside of basketball for these kids, we do some community service type activities. What kinds of things is the men's basketball team involved in?
Yeah, we rake leaves. We raked the other day actually, and for some people in the community. We put on a couple clinics for Columbus Day. We put on a clinic for local kids, and then we kick off the Y program for youth. I think grades. I think it's like 2, 3, 4, and 5 in that area. We did a clinic for them. We're doing this weekend. We're doing a food drive for St. Mary's Food Bank in downtown.
Okay.
We did last year. Just a number of things like that, and certainly we are continuing to the migrant worker program for Christmas. We've done that the 5 years I've been here.
Okay. How important is that for our student athletes to do those things?
I think it's real important. I think they have to, kids nowadays have to see things through other people's eyes, and not everybody's as fortunate as maybe they are, have an opportunity to play college basketball and go to a great, university like this, and to go out and help others. I think my guys thrive on it. I really think they look at it as, they never complain about it. It's a great thing to do, coach, let's go do it. And I think it's great. It builds character in them. It's nothing that we look for anybody to pat us on the back for. It's more like just that we do it ourselves, and
Right.
we're not looking for accolades or anything. We just think it's important to give back to the community.
Right.
And hopefully down the road they will continue to do it as adults.
Right. And I think in our basketball program now, we know that there are student athletes with character, and that's kind of the way you operate and your philosophy. And certainly I think it's starting to take hold. And I mean, I think our program is definitely on the upswing, and we want to thank you for coming by today and talking about it, and we wish you good luck this year.
Thanks, Geoff. I'm
All right.
glad to be here.
All right, well,
thanks again.
Well, I'd like to thank Vince Medici for coming by tonight, and after the break, I'll be joined in studio by head women's basketball coach Daphne Thompson. Welcome back. Joining me now in studio is head women's basketball coach Daphne Thompson. Welcome to the show, Daphne.
Thank you, Geoff.
Why don't you give us a little background? You grew up locally here in Morris.
Yes, I
tell us
grew
a little
up
bit
in
about
Morris. Small school. I was the big fish in a little pond, and I had a great opportunity. I had a wonderful coach, and I enjoyed even though it was a Class D experience, it was a wonderful experience. I had great athletes around me, so I was able to be very successful. I mean, we were in 3 sectional finals in my 5 years as a varsity player, so it was exciting.
Now you Daily Star Player of the Year.
Yes, I was.
1,500 career points and 1,000 career rebounds.
Yes, and that was,
That's
a
better
long
than
time
average.
ago, but
Yep, that's better than average.
Yeah, it was exciting.
Now
No three-point line.
No, that's right, which is crazy, isn't it?
Yeah. And most of it with the men's ball.
Oh, that's right, because they didn't use the women's ball until
I was a senior.
Wow.
So
What kind of a transition was that for you?
It was interesting. It was different through my career. We got the 30-second clock. We got the women's ball. We got the 3-point line when I was a sophomore in college. So a lot of different changes in the game when I was playing.
So you've seen the evolution of the game firsthand.
Yeah.
Which is pretty cool.
Yeah, it's exciting.
Yes, it is. Because now I coached high school basketball and actually coached women's basketball. So actually the whole ball thing, I actually got better shooting a women's ball because it was so much lighter.
It's lighter, your hand fits on it a little bit better than the bigger ball.
Yeah, I thought that was a great change for the women's game. You turned your high school career into a pretty successful college career at the University of Delaware as a Division I athlete. You were captain your senior year.
Captain senior year. I guess the best stat that I had was that my senior year I shot 60% from the floor. So I guess that was, by the time you're a senior, you know where you can shoot from so you can stay on the floor.
Yeah. What kind of an experience was that to be a Division I athlete?
It was a challenge, especially coming from Class D. I'd never lifted a weight in my life, so that was a big change going in, and I was the shortest of the 4 freshmen. So I was this little, tiny, not skinny, 147-pound player, and I had a lot to learn in my first couple of years.
Wow. So you say shortest. My God, aren't you like 6'2"?
No, I'm only 6 feet.
Only 6 feet. I tell you, but still, 6 foot is short. Now that experience, you turned that into, you started coaching. You actually worked with Delaware for a couple of years.
I stayed on for my grad experience, and I worked with the team for 2 years. That was a great transition, going from a player to a coach, because it's not an easy thing to do. And I was just very fortunate at 24 years of age to be able to get a head coaching job right out of grad school. So.
And that was at?
Hartwick,
which is over across the hill.
Yes, it is.
You had a very successful tenure there during your 15 years. You won over 200 games, and you made the NCAA tournament a few times, and Region Coach of the Year a couple times. What was that experience like?
Well, I was a young coach, and fortunately I had a lot of people around me that allowed me to be, helped me to learn and grow as a professional. I mean, I can't say enough about Nick Lambros and all the things that he helped me to learn. And the players were wonderful, and the people at Hartwick were terrific to be able to allow me to grow as a coach, and gave me great support.
Now, Tom Moriarty, one of our assistant coach now, was a men's assistant over at Hartwick during that time when you were there?
Yes, he was the men's assistant coach my first year. So we had an opportunity to work together for 1 year. And then he went to the high school. So it's very interesting how everything kind of comes around.
I know, it just seems to be a full circle. But like you said, there are a lot of resources in the city between the two schools, even though they are, competing as far as, they say the rivalry between Hartwick and Oneonta. The people over there, I mean, between Tim McGraw, who also was coaching over there for many years and who's a good friend and stuff, those types of people, great to have around. And
Absolutely.
what do they do?
I mean, you have Bobby Z that's been around for a long time. And I mean, I'm fortunate. The 2 men that I have on staff with me, I mean, their experience is amazing. I tell people all the time, I'm so much more relaxed on the sideline because I don't worry that I might forget something, because if I do, one of those 2 will remember it. So it's kind of
we talked about Tom and Norm Kaufman, who's been with our women's program now for over 10 years now, right?
Yeah, it's probably 12.
Yeah, and he came from Norwich High School, where he was a very successful girls coach there. What kind of perspective does he lend to?
Well, first of all, it's really unique because the players love him. They think he is the greatest thing, and it's so fun to watch them interact. It's like he's a grandfather to them, and I mean, he can do no wrong. I mean, Tom and I are the bad guys, and Norm's the good guy. So it's neat. It's
being around Norm, talking with him. I could see that he just has kind of a playful attitude, kind of easygoing manner, which I think athletes today appreciate because like you said, I mean, someone's got to be the hard. You got to do this, got to do that.
Yeah.
And then you've got Norm, who will kind of be like, you're doing okay, you're all right. So.
Well, and he does that, but he also knows how to give them, you're not working hard enough. He definitely does know how to challenge them. But,
well, that's because of his successful high school coaching career. I mean, obviously he wouldn't get to where he was if he didn't have that in him as well.
Well, he coached against me when I was in high school. So both of them I knew before I got here, so it was kind of really interesting.
So now you're here, Oneonta. What kind of a transition was it like to come over across the way and inherit a program that is successful? I mean, we've had a very good run for the last 10, 12 years. I mean, since I've been here, we've ECAC tournament champions, NCAA, that kind of stuff. Did you have to put your own stamp on the program now, or?
Well, I believe that every coach needs to do that when they come in. I think it's important for you to kind of set your boundaries and what your expectations are so that the players see that there is a difference. But you also have to be careful not to step on toes of the people that did such a great job before you came. I mean, Dan certainly put a lot of effort into what he did and brought the program, got the program to where it was, and I can't say enough about what he did. So, the transition wasn't extremely easy because we had a large junior class that they really bought into what I was trying to do, and they supported me 100%, so that was terrific.
Right. Now let's start talking about this year's team. We graduated 5 seniors from last year's team. Very good. They were part of a big freshman class that Dana brought in. Now they're out. You brought in some freshmen, a lot of height.
We have 3 freshmen and 3 transfers. So we have 13 players, Well, there's actually 14, but one is going to be injured for the year. So we had 8 returners, but only 7 are going to be in uniform, and that means we have 6 new faces, which makes things interesting. As much as we have 7 juniors, 3 of them are new. So it's been interesting trying to teach the principals and what we're looking to accomplish.
Right.
So
now, from the returning players, who on our squad do we think is going to be the players to watch from the returning group?
Well, I can't say enough about Sarah Christie. I mean, she's been our starting point guard since I got here, so it's kind of nice to have a 3rd year with that person, you know, who's running the point guard, kind of an extension of you, and she's just got that, you know, competitive edge, but has that big smile most of the time that helps to kind of calm everyone down. So when that smile's missing, sometimes we are challenged a little bit. But yeah, she's fun to coach, and I think that she's going to help this group transition very nicely. And
very intelligent.
We can go right into our other guard, Becca Bucci. I mean, she has worked
Becca.
really, really hard in the off season, and I'm really excited for her because I think she's going to have a terrific year. And she's such a competitor, so she's fun to coach.
Now, last year her sister played for us, and she had a great 4-year career for us. What a hustler, and she was all over the place.
We will miss her defense. I mean, that's going to. I mean, that was one of the things she was capable of doing, is locking down the other team's best player. So, you know, hopefully Becca's going to transition into that role. So.
Right now, will Becca find that? I mean, obviously she played a couple years without her in high school, but then when she came here, she got a chance to play with her for 2 years. Confidence, not a problem. She, you know, this shouldn't be a problem.
That playing with her for 2 years really helped her to kind of get into her own and find out who she was as a player. And now she's kind of, I think she really has a great understanding of what she's capable of, and challenging the other players to be the best they can be too. So.
Right. And I know that was what her sister did as well.
Yeah.
So. Any of the other front court players? We got Mary Kate O'Connell, who's a returning 3-year player, been a starter most of her career.
Yeah, and she's worked really hard in the offseason, which is exciting. I think that she's going to do great things for us as well. I mean, she runs the floor better than a lot of guards do, so it's going to be exciting for her. I think you're going to see great things from Sam Skotak. She's, you know, capable of scoring, so it's going to be good to have her around as well to kind of fill in some of that scoring voids.
Now, our other returning sophomore from last year played a lot.
Madison,
Slagle. Will she fit into that rotation as well?
We're changing her position. I mean, last year she played mostly as a forward, and she never played a forward in high school, so that was a big adjustment for her. And now we're pushing her back out to a guard role, so, you know, she's adapting, you know, back where she's facing the basket, where I think is her strength. So.
Right, now she's not short either. I mean, she's like 5'10",
6 feet.
right? Yeah, I mean, that's, so you got someone in the backcourt that has that kind of height. Tough matchup problems for the other team.
We're just big. I mean, we'll see how that plays out. I mean, I'm excited for them. We have some things to manage, but we'll see how it goes.
Incoming freshmen, who are some of the names that we want to pay attention to this year?
Gabby Regan's going to, you know, I mean, she's working really hard to try to gain a lot of knowledge about the game and how we are playing it at Oneonta. So she's working really hard, and I think she's got a lot to offer. We're taking a kid from New Jersey's state championship team and taking her. She was a forward on that team and changing her to a guard. So Kate Wilverding's working really hard to try to adapt to that, and we're hoping that she's going to be able to be that other guard that we're lacking right now. So.
With general impressions for this season, I mean, we've won 20 games for a couple, back-to-back seasons. We've been at the top 3, 2, 3, 4 in the SUNYAC.
Yeah.
Where do you see us this year? Does the SUNYAC look as strong? Do we?
Well, the SUNYAC is going to be a little bit different, but I mean, Potsdam might be a little bit down because they graduated 3, but she's doing a great job up there, so I think that they'll still just be really, really tough to play. New Paltz is going to be one of those guard-oriented teams who like to press and get in your face and play an up-tempo game, so we'll see how we manage against them. They'll be tough. Cortland, of course. Yeah. I mean, they graduated 3, but who they have returning, they were pretty solid, so I don't foresee them missing too much. Brockport graduated 2 years back-to-back 4, so I'm not sure that they can sustain that, but you never know.
Right.
It is a PE school, so I'm sure that she's got some players coming in and be able to challenge. I look to see Geneseo to be much improved.
Yeah.
Their best player was out in the second game last year with Achilles tear, so she'll be back, and their best freshman tore her ACL last year, so early in the season. So on top of what he brought in as in a new class, on top of
Right.
those two returning, I think he's going to have a pretty solid year. So
Right,
it should be exciting in the SUNY, and we have a tough non-conference. You know, last year we won a couple of games, you know, by a couple points here and there, and you know, if you can manage to do that again, it's exciting. You know, it looks great, but you never know. You have to show up every day. So.
Right. Now, because Brockport, when we say Brockport, they graduated a huge class and no one expected them, and yet they won our conference tournament last year and went to the NCAA tournament. Geneseo, I mean, you're right. I mean, they've traditionally been one of the better teams in our conference. They've just been, you know, different coaches. They haven't had any consistency, but I mean, I would expect them. I mean, it goes 5, 6, 7 deep sometimes in the SUNY on the women's side, which is good. You don't want it to be a cakewalk.
No.
So.
And Oswego had the Rookie of the Year last year, so I mean, they should be pretty tough too.
Yeah. So, we now, when you're recruiting players, what kinds of things do you talk about when do you like to get them here on campus?
Absolutely. I think that Oneonta can really sell itself by getting those players to come to, just take a look at it. And I really believe them meeting the team. I have a really unique group of women. They're a lot of fun, off the court, just as people. So I think it's really important for them to come and actually spend some time with them because they're great people. Now, do you
get any the feedback you get from them? Do the players say, "Hey, coach"?
Absolutely. Yeah. They're very, very loud group, and they are not afraid to tell me we really didn't like her. So, I mean, I get great feedback from them, and it is important.
Right, because it is. You have to build a team chemistry, and if you bring in people that may not mesh properly.
Well, obviously our position to fill is the point guard.
Right.
So, I mean, that's our main drive right now. I think we have 15 guards right now, that we're spending a lot of time with because, Sarah leaving, we do not have anybody behind her, so we have to bring someone in to fill that position. So,
we talked a little bit. We had Vince on earlier tonight. We talked a little bit about community service and how important it is for our teams to do that kind of stuff. What kinds of things is a women's basketball program involved in? What kind of community service do you guys?
Well, they ran the pit run, which is always a challenge. They're not, some of them are not ever very excited to do that. But when they finish, they're always very, it's quite a fulfilling event. I mean, you get done and you really feel accomplished afterwards. And the reason we participate in is really just for them to have a mental challenge. It's good for us to have to say, okay, if I can just make it to this next, because late in the game when you got a minute left and you've got to really be able to turn it up another, you got to figure out how you can do that, and it's all in your head. So that's a great opportunity for them to learn that. We also, we participate in the Thanksgiving basket, in the Christmas giving, and we work and we try to go to Center Street and get down there and do a program with the youth and in the classroom.
You're doing the reading program?
We some of it is reading, some of it's just being in the classroom and assisting a teacher like an hour a week. So they all spend an hour a week in the classroom. So and we have 6 or 7 education majors. So it's a great thing for them to put on their resume.
How important is it for them to do that?
I think it's really, they see them, at other times in the community, and I think it's great for the kids and also for my players to have that connection to the community. It's important for them to understand how visible they really are, and what they can do for a young person. And
I know that we've attracted many, like our crowd or our fan base has increased during the last few years, and I just know my own sons who are at Center Street. I mean, Gunnar still talks about Mary Kate, and when he comes to the games, he's looking for Mary Kate out on the floor. So there is that recognition for the younger, even just girls and boys. I mean, I don't think it really matters at that age. It's just the role modeling and the influence that they would have for them to be excited to go to a basketball game and see someone that they know. So yes, I mean, I can certainly see where that makes an impression.
And we have a camp in the summertime too. So a lot of those kids come to camp and they get to meet them, and they have that, kind of another way to build rapport with some of the local kids. So.
Well, we certainly know that you're doing a great job on the court, off the court. Your kids are, doing a great job. We want to thank you for coming by today and talking about your season, and we wish you good luck.
Thank you, Geoff.
All right.
Good luck to you too.
Thank you. Well, I'd like to thank both my guests tonight, head men's and women's basketball coaches, Daphne Thompson and Vince Medici. We would like to remind you upcoming home events before the Thanksgiving break. We have a wrestling tournament on Saturday, November 21st. Begins at about 9:30 in the morning over in the Dura Arena. That is an all-day event, free to the public, so we invite you to come on down. The basketball teams will open up on the road during that same weekend. The women will be at the Rochester tournament, and the men will be at the Muhlenberg tournament. Again, we invite you to check out our website and call our hotline for all the latest news and information about Oneonta State athletics. We'd like to thank you again for joining us this week, and we'll see you next Monday on Inside Red Dragon Sports.